Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into the story of a conqueror so monumental, so utterly world-changing that his legacy is still debated centuries later. We're talking about a man who built the largest contiguous land empire in history, a dominion that stretched from the Pacific Ocean to the heart of Europe. Yet, for all the territory he claimed, he famously left no city standing in his wake. This is the story of Genghis Khan. Now, when you hear that name, what comes to mind? For many, it's a brutal warrior, a merciless conqueror who rode out of the vast Mongolian steppe to sow chaos and destruction. And to be fair, that's not entirely wrong. The campaigns led by him and his successors were responsible for immense devastation. Cities that resisted were often leveled, their populations decimated. Accounts from the time paint a truly grim picture. But here's where the story gets more complex. Was he just a force of nature? A whirlwind of destruction? Or was there a method to the madness, a strategic vision that we often overlook? To understand the man, you have to understand his world. Born as Temujin around 1162, he came into a life of brutal hardship on the Mongolian plateau. This wasn't a unified nation, it was a chaotic patchwork of warring tribes, constantly raiding, betraying, and fighting each other for scarce resources. Survival was a daily struggle. Temujin's own father was poisoned, his family was abandoned by their clan, and he spent his youth as a fugitive, even being enslaved at one point. This brutal upbringing didn't just harden him. It taught him a crucial lesson. Disunity meant death. Unity was the only path to survival and strength. This core belief became the driving force of his life. Through sheer will, strategic genius, and an uncanny ability to inspire loyalty, Temujin began to unite the disparate Mongol tribes under his banner. He didn't do it just by force. He created a meritocracy, promoting commanders based on skill and loyalty rather than aristocratic birthright. He forged alliances, absorbed defeated foes into his own ranks, and created a unified legal code, the Yasa, that applied to everyone. By 1206, he had accomplished the impossible. He had unified the warring peoples of the steppe. At a grand assembly, a Kurultai, he was proclaimed Genghis Khan, the universal ruler. But unifying Mongolia was only the beginning. With this newfound, disciplined, and incredibly mobile military machine, Genghis Khan turned his gaze outward. Why? Historians debate this. Some argue it was for trade, to secure the lucrative Silk Road routes. Others suggest it was to keep his newly unified warrior society occupied, preventing a return to internal conflict. And some believe it was a divine mission, a mandate from the eternal blue sky to rule the world. Whatever the reason, the world was about to feel the full force of the Mongol horde. Their first major targets were the powerful empires to the south and west, the Western Xia, the Jin dynasty in northern China, and the sprawling Khwarezmian Empire in Central Asia, and this is where the fearsome reputation was forged. The Mongol military tactics were revolutionary. They were masters of cavalry warfare, psychological operations, and siegecraft often learned from engineers captured from the very cities they conquered. They were disciplined, coordinated, and utterly relentless. The pattern of conquest became tragically familiar. When the Mongol army arrived at a city, they would offer terms. Surrender, accept Mongol lordship, pay tribute, and you would be spared. Your artisans and engineers might be relocated, but the city and its people would largely be left intact. But if you resisted, if you killed their envoys, an act considered the ultimate offense. The response was absolute and terrifying. Take the Khwarezmian Empire. After the Shah of Khwarezm made the fatal mistake of executing Mongol ambassadors, Genghis Khan unleashed a campaign of total war. Great cities like Samarkand, Bukhara, and Urgench, centers of learning and culture for centuries, were systematically dismantled. Historical chronicles, though perhaps exaggerated, speak of rivers of blood and pyramids of skulls. The destruction was so complete that it served as a chilling message to anyone else who might consider defiance. This wasn't random violence, it was calculated terror, a strategic tool designed to break the enemy's will to fight. Why besiege 10 cities if you can make an example of one and have the other 9 surrender without a fight? This brings us back to our central theme. He conquered the world, but left no city standing. This is, of course, a hyperbole, but it captures the essence of his strategy of deterrence. He didn't build new cities in the traditional sense because his empire wasn't based on urban centers. It was an empire of the steppe, a mobile nation governed from a movable capital, the tent encampment known as the Orju. The wealth of conquered cities, the gold, the silks, the skilled craftsmen were funneled back to fuel the Mongol military machine, not to build static monuments. The empire's infrastructure wasn't roads and buildings. It was the YAM, an incredibly efficient postal relay system that allowed messages and intelligence to travel faster than ever before. So, how do we reconcile the two sides of Genghis Khan? The unifier and lawgiver versus the brutal conqueror. The man who created a system of religious tolerance and safe trade across Asia, the so-called Pax Mongolica, or Mongol peace, but did so through campaigns of unparalleled brutality. The truth is, he was both. He was a product of his time and place, a man who used ruthless methods to achieve a vision of a unified, ordered world under his rule. He tore down the old world to build his new one. His goal wasn't to build cities of brick and mortar, but to build an empire of people, unified by law, connected by trade, and secured by an unchallengeable military. He didn't leave grand palaces or cathedrals, but he left a genetic and cultural legacy that is staggering. Today, millions of people from Asia to Europe carry his DNA. He redrew the map of the world, shattering old empires and paving the way for new ones to rise, including, indirectly, the European Renaissance, which benefited from the renewed contact with the East that his empire facilitated. The story of Genghis Khan is a powerful reminder that history is rarely black and white. It's a complex tapestry woven with threads of violence and innovation, destruction and creation. He was a conqueror who changed the course of history, not by building cities, but by shattering the world that existed and forging a new one in its place. What do you think? Was Genghis Khan a civilizing force or a destructive one? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this deep dive into history, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more stories that shaped our world. We'll see you in the next one.